It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
So one day I received a call from a real estate agency and they told me to come for an interview. And I was like, what is it about? And they said, it's about real estate. I'm like, no, I cannot. I never seen myself to sell apartments or house. And then in the end, when I went there, they convinced me so much. They saw something on me. They even, real estate agent in Dubai, they don't get salaries. But they convinced me so much. They see something on me. They gave me a salary in the first 3 months. Anyway, when I started, I decided to myself, let me challenge myself. Let's start. And my first month, I became top seller in my agency, in this agency, straight away.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, something is working here. And when I received my first commission, which is normally is after 2-3 months, I decided to myself, I should start to invest in myself, which is I invest everything, my first commission, on making videos on social media. And I remember my social media manager told me, I was like, I want to really cover my tattoo because I feel like it's not going to work. I'm a bit afraid, like the culture here and everything. He told me, no, be yourself. Let's shoot. Trust me. Just keep open your neck with the tattoo. And I have it also in my full arm tattoo anyway. As soon as I post the video, boom, I blow up like it was crazy. Straight away, I was hungry for leads from the agency. After my video, I used to receive every single day between TikTok and Instagram, 500 messages per day, but not just messages like, oh, I want to see you, I want a coffee and everything. Messages regarding real estate. I want to invest with you. I want to buy it was crazy. So suddenly my life completely changing like in 2 days, let's say. And I had to hire straight away an assistant to reply all those messages. And slowly, by the time was passing, I was keep posting. I start to receive so much respect from developers, from everyone, from top agents that I used to look up at them. They wanted to collaborate with me. And this was around like 4 or 5 years ago. By the time was passing, 1 year passed. I even opened my own real estate agency only after 1 year, and it's going great. To be honest, I didn't expect all of this. Like people stop me on the street, agents or people they even not in real estate recognize me. When they stop me in the street, they even tell me, I moved to Dubai 3 years ago because of your videos. I'm like in shock, to be honest. Every time they tell me this, I'm like, are you serious? Like it's a big responsibility. Like I need to be very careful what I'm telling in my videos.
Now, talking of Canberra, we should have a look at the median house price and what's been happening around that. You've got the details.
Canberra's been holding strong, so we certainly did have a little bit of a lull post-COVID, but certainly in the last probably 12 to 18 months, Canberra certainly has increased and stock levels have certainly increased. Supply and demand, as we know, that's what drives price. So we're sitting at around just over $1 million for our median house price here in Canberra, which is strong to see.
And the unit median price, this is really heated up, of course, first home buyers being drawn into this area.
Absolutely. So I guess with first home buyers certainly being priced out of the market in our single dwelling homes, we are seeing first home buyers lean more towards units. Canberra's certainly increasing their construction on units. So off the plan units are certainly increasing, but equally so some of the older units, those that are, 10 plus years old, maintenance is really good on them. They're certainly a great product to purchase in the Canberra market at this stage.
I wonder, back in the 1940s, imagine it, you got the builders in Canberra building the homes. Could they ever have dreamt just how popular in Canberra the 1940s homes would become in 2025?
And I must say, I think a lot of it comes down to the way they were built, the designs, the structures. Hands down, we don't get builds like that anymore.
And we should look at the first home buyers scheme. Of course, this has been a big talking point for us right around Australia. Just how busy and active is the Canberra market? What are you seeing with regard to that?
It's certainly heated up. We're seeing increased numbers through all of our opens, anything sub 1 million in Canberra. We've certainly seen a huge increase. Demand is there and it's certainly driving price up.
Now, let's just dive into your background, Rachel, because you've come from a hospitality background, cafes, restaurants, industries that thrive on connection, also service. That is all in the lane when it comes to translating into real estate. Is empathy widespread in the real estate sector? Well, surprise, surprise, I'd say no. Much of the sector is out for themselves. You were telling me that you've been moving away from the traditional pushy agent stereotype and instead taking on the role of a genuine guide for people. How authentic of you, Rachel.
I'd like to think so. Prior to entering the real estate market, yes, I was in restaurants, cafes, people first, and it comes natural to me. I had purchased homes before. I dealt with real estate agents. I'd been a vendor before. So certainly when I came into the real estate space, I made a very clear decision to stay authentic, stay myself, and put empathy and people first.
You know, the pushy agent thing, I don't mind pushing that because I'm not a real estate agent. And if you're a young person looking at getting into the real estate sector, perhaps next year, which is fast approaching, this is something to really have under your belt. You know, have that thought, I do not want to become a pushy agent. I want to become authentic. It is such a good trademark, isn't it, to have?
It is. And I must admit, I feel the pushy side of it comes from the huge targets and the pressure to list and sell a certain amount of property per year. I go by the fact that if you enter the industry being authentic, having some passion, loving what you do, the listings will come, the clients will come, you will naturally build your own very, very strong business. Going into a listing presentation and having that fear behind you, that you have to get that across the line, that's where you can become a pushy sales agent.
We are your local source for unbiased, expert insights into the world of real estate. We are not a real estate company. Our only objective is to help you better understand the real estate market.
Listing volumes are down significantly over their 5-year average. If you look at the core totality data, it's actually about 20% below the 5-year average. So there is a lack of listings, but in some areas, it's not all that short. Sydney auction clearance rates last week, actually on the 15th of November, were 72.6%. The week before, they were at 73.6%. And same time last year, they were at 69%. So they have gone up. I wouldn't say it's a runaway auction market. As to your point, some vendors will naturally have ownership bias. We all think our properties are worth more than what they are because we have a sentimental attachment to them. But the realistic sellers are getting them away. We're not seeing reports of massive results over auction or over reserve, I should say. Like when you tend to get auction clearance rates above 80%, that's when you hear the stories in the media of, hundreds of thousands of dollars over reserve. So I'm not saying we've got a balanced market, Craig. We've definitely got a very competitive market, and buyers that are out there need to be savvy and they need to move quickly. But there is a little bit more choice coming. I mean, it has been over the spring period, but over the, once we hit December, January, we'll naturally get that holiday season again where the listings dry up and then they'll kick off again sort of around mid-January.
Now, 2025, I know that you would have been paying a lot of attention to what the RBA was doing. In another lifetime, I think you could have been an economist. Tell me what you think is likely to happen, because there are all sorts of speculation about, no, we're not going to see any more rate cuts in 2025. Actually, was speaking to Warren Hogan a few days ago. He thought that perhaps halfway through next year, we could actually see the rates rise. He's just putting it out there. So what is your take on all of that?
Warren's Mr. Negative. I disagree with a lot of his projections, but I think obviously we've got sticky inflation. Inflation dipped below the 3% level. That's why we got the 2 rate cuts, right? But now we've ticked up above that level. The Reserve Bank is going, going, whoa, hang on, no, we're not going to stimulate the economy anymore. There's what's called the neutral rate, Craig. And this is where the RBA is a bit vague about what is the actual neutral rate, an interest rate that doesn't stimulate nor curtail activity too much. And it was thought that that rate was around 3%. However, now that we've got stronger inflation and also pretty robust employment, it could be that that neutral rate is actually higher. So what that means for the property market is that we had a situation where everyone was expecting more rate cuts. Some of the buyers were holding back thinking, you know what, I'll just wait till it's really at the very bottom and then I'll jump in. But that's not going to happen. And what's going to continue to happen is we're going to continue to have high demand, high immigration, very short supply of properties. We're not building enough properties to keep up with demand. I'm actually producing a major report, Craig, that I'm sure your listeners will be interested in, called The Great Supply Crunch Coming in the Next 5 Years. We're doing a deep dive into right across all the markets across Australia as to where and which cities and which regions are going to have the most critical shortage in property supply. And what that means is that's underpinning price growth. So in some areas, we're just not producing enough properties. And that's simply because construction costs are high, because we've got a very high interstate migration. Like cities like Brisbane, for example, have the highest rate of interstate migration, whereas Melbourne tends to get the highest rate of international migration. So migrants, when they first arrive, often end up in Melbourne. So what I'm saying, all of those factors are saying that we're going to see probably possibly one more rate cut next year if inflation is curtailed and then stays below the 3% band. If it doesn't, the rate cutting cycle's over and it's just business as usual. And I think we'll just have pretty stable rates for the next 2 or 3 years.
Got to ask you this one, the 5% guarantee scheme. The unit market in Sydney, very, very hot at the moment. I think we can say that. What is happening with those first home buyers? Because you are assisting and helping the mum and dad bank get the children into a unit. How much activity have you seen since that guarantee scheme, 5% came in? What sort of a difference has it made in the market that you're in?
You know what happens when you put petrol on the fire? That's what's happening, Craig. It's pretty simple, right? So when they brought in the 5% deposit scheme, I speak to a lot of mortgage brokers. Now, it doesn't mean that the government's giving you the extra 15% deposit. You have to borrow that. So the first home buyers still have to qualify for the loan, but the level of interest and the level of activity in all of the capital cities below the caps, like in Sydney, it's below 1.5, in Melbourne and Brisbane, it's below 1 million. What it's doing to the market, the lower end of the market, is pulling forward demand astronomically. So suddenly where you would have had 3 or 4 buyers, now you've got 5 to 10 buyers all chasing after that cheaper property. So it's going to push prices very quickly to the caps, right? It's quickly going to push people into those properties. So that's where you see a bit of frenetic activity and a bit of FOMO happening in that first home buyer market, because the government has decided to, it was a vote catcher, right? That's just simply what it was. It's not really dealing with the supply issue. It's just incentivizing first home buyers and say, I'll give you a leg up. I didn't get anything when I was buying my first home, Craig. I had to work hard and save my deposit, right? So the market is definitely very, very stimulated at that lower end.
Grab your weekly dose of inspiration to help build a real estate portfolio. We talk to the best in the business every day. Learn from the professionals and know your property with us.
Got a short email from Devon in London who wrote in to say that he could relate to another Aussie in London who emailed us last week. You might remember Melanie's story from Perth. She felt that the Perth property rise in terms of pricing, together with her exchanging pounds for Aussie dollars, this whole exchange thing, trying to make money, one thing cancels out the other in terms of having that advantage. And Devon wrote in just to say, hey, I am from Sydney and Melanie's story is exactly what I am facing too. So it's not as much of an advantage. So thank you so much for getting in touch with us, Devon. Our email address, as always, is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Let's go to Brisbane because we're going to catch up with Michael Baker. Michael has done something pretty amazing in terms of a build there in Brisbane. Anything is possible, when it comes to a renovation project. Perhaps I'll just get you to set this up a little bit in terms of what you have built, because you started off with an old timber weatherboard home and you've kind of gone for gold.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having us on the show this morning. Yeah, we basically took a little post-war cottage that was terracotta tile, timber weatherboard, timber windows and that sort of stuff, and supercharged it, I suppose. We've raised the house, extended out the back, basically made it sort of 4 times the size of what it was.
You know, if you look at the Brisbane buyer market, right now they are gravitating towards polished turnkey homes because they don't want to stress out with all of the planning battles, the material delays, etc., etc., etc. So you've turned something into obviously a palace compared to what it was. And I have to say, I have seen the photos and well done you.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. On that point, I guess we do talk to a lot of clients over the years, and then you progress through the project and then they realise it's going to take probably 2 years to get to a completed home. There's some variables in there in terms of construction costs. We've got rising labour, difficult labour to get. We've got the Olympics coming in 32, so that's sucking a lot of guys into different areas. They're being offered crazy amounts of money to move to bigger organisations. So that makes the renovation and building process a little bit unknown in terms of the final costs. So in this situation, you've got a finished product that you can open the door and at the end of the day be swimming in the pool on Christmas Day. And I think that's fairly attractive to a certain demographic.
Yeah, the other thing too around all of this is preserving the character. You know, there's a lot of fantastic character homes in Brisbane, but what happens? Developers, investors, they get these blocks and the first thing to go, obviously, is that old house. And it's a shame really because, you know, it's losing the identity of the city.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Brisbane City Council town plan has a lot to answer for that. I think they seem to have kind of thrown that out the door in recent years, and stuff that 10 years ago would have a character protection overlay on it and you couldn't do too much to it without having a lot of the development approvals required. They just get knocked down. And I've never seen so much demolition in 30 years of building in Brisbane as I have in the last 18 months. And you just drive past some beautiful classic homes and next minute they're a vacant block of land and you think, how is that preserving the character of the timber and tin structure that we have and are famous for in Brisbane?
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.